algebra and geometry? Yuck! But Miss Pocket Ronnie can help you.
Okay, we're going to be adding and subtracting fractions, but with the world of letters and numbers. We add, subtract fractions by making a common denominator. Okay, let me go back to simple math. 2/3 plus 3/4. What would you want your common denominator to be? 12. How do you get this to be a 12? You multiply it by 4. Whatever you do the denominator, you have to do the numerator. How do you get that to be a 12? You multiply by 3. Whatever you do the denominator, you have to do the numerator. So now your new fraction, 8/12. Multiplying fractions straight across. This new fraction, 9/12. When you get to this point, when you add fractions, once you have a common denominator, you just combine your numerator. 8 plus 9, 17/12. Okay, so that's just a reminder of how to add fractions. Alright, now let's look at problem 2E6. Okay, now we're adding fractions, but we're in the world of letters and numbers. 4 over x plus 1 over 3. Worst case scenario in a common denominator, to find a common denominator, you multiply these two things together. So my common denominator would be 3x, multiplying these two together. So what do I need to multiply to this one? A 3. Means I need to multiply the numerator by 3. What do I need to multiply to this one? An x. Means I also have to multiply the numerator by x. So now my new fraction, multiplying fractions, numerator to numerator, denominator to denominator. This new fraction would be 12 over 3x. This new fraction would be 1x, or just x, over 3x. Now, once you have a common denominator, you combine your numerators. 12 plus 1x. Can I combine 12 and x? No. So I just write it as 12 plus x, because I can't combine 12 and x all over 3x. That is your final answer. You cannot cancel 3 and 12, or this x and x. This 12 and this x is connected together by an addition sign. It is married. They are married together. They act like one number. You can only cancel when things are multiplied. These are not multiplied up here, so you cannot cancel. This is your final answer. Now let's look at 2b13. Okay, this denominator is 2a. This one is 2b. They each have a 2 in it, so that's in common. But this one they each need to have an a and a b. Okay? Worst case scenario, you can multiply these two things together. 2a times 2b is 4ab. Okay? So you can use 4ab as your common denominator, or the fact that they already have a 2, then I'm just going to use 2ab. Okay? Because I don't need to have, they already have a 2 in common, but my common denominator needs to have an a and a b. Okay? So I'm going to use 2ab as my common denominator. So what does this one need to have multiplied to it? It needs to have a b. So if I multiply that denominator by b, I have to do the numerator. This one needs to have an a multiplied to it, so I have to do the numerator. So now my new fraction, multiplying this to the new fraction, numerator to numerator, denominator to denominator, 8b all over 2ab minus, don't forget this sign, 3a all over 2ab. In algebra, we're going to write things in alphabetical order. Okay? Now that my denominator is the same, I combine my numerator. So 8b minus 3a all over the same denominator. I cannot combine b's to a's. The one thing you look to see is if your numbers 2, 8, and 3 can all reduce by the same thing, then you can reduce them. But 2, 8, and 3 cannot all be reduced by the same numbers. 2 and 8 can be reduced by 2, but 3 can't. You have to be able to reduce all three numbers by the same thing, but in this case you can't. Do not cancel this a and this a and this b and this b. These two things are connected by the subtraction sign. You cannot break them apart. They are married. So that would be your final answer. Okay, let's go down here to 2b11. So you have a denominator of x plus 2, denominator of x minus 2. Remember, worst case scenario, your common denominator is multiplying these two things together. So I know my common denominator is going to be x plus 2, x minus 2. Okay, in this new fraction, my common denominator is going to be x plus 2, x minus 2. If you want to write that ahead of time to help you. So my common denominator is going to be those two things multiplied together. So what do I have to multiply to this one to get my common denominator? I need to multiply an x minus 2, which means I have to multiply my numerator by x minus 2. This one, I have to multiply an x plus 2. Okay, let's go back to this one. So my denominator is these two things. I already have that. My numerator, this has to be distributed. Okay? The 8 has to be distributed to both things. So my new numerator is 8x minus 16. Don't forget your negative sign. Okay? Plus, there's my plus sign. This has to be distributed. Okay? Negative 1, don't forget your negative. Negative 1 times x. Negative 1x, or just negative x. Negative 1 times a positive 2, negative 2. Now that we have the same denominator, we can combine our numerator. So here's how I'm going to write it. I'm just going to write everything combined. 8x minus 16. I'm going to write this negative 1x minus x minus 2 all over this denominator. X plus 2, x minus 2. Now let's look to see if we can combine anything in the numerator. I can combine my x's. 8x minus x is a 7x, a negative 16 and negative 2. In debt 16, in debt 2 more, so I'm in debt 18. I'm going to go ahead and FOIL this out because the book has it FOILed out. So x plus 2 times x minus 2, when you FOIL it out, you're going to get x squared. I'm going to do it over here for you. X squared minus 2x plus 2x minus 4. Your minus 2x, your plus 2x cancels, and you're left with x squared minus 4. And so that would be your final answer. Okay, we're on problem 2E2 now. If you look, you have a left side and you have a right side. The instructions say, tell if the right side, or if this is correct or not. If it's incorrect, rewrite the right side. I can tell you right now this is not correct, because if I just look at the left side, ignore the right side for a second, because that's what we're trying to determine is correct. If you look at this side and we're going to add these fractions, what would my common denominator be? I would take this times this. So my common denominator would be x times x plus 1, which if you distribute that, that would be x squared plus x. This common denominator is not the same as either one of these. And even though these are common denominator, we combine this, it's not going to equal adding these two fractions together. So I can tell you right now that that's wrong because they don't have the correct common denominator over here. So when this is wrong, we're supposed to write the correct thing. So in order to write the correct answer on the right, you have to go through working this problem. Okay? So now we know our common denominator is going to be x times x plus 1. Well, to get my common denominator, this one needs an x. I need to multiply an x to both the numerator and denominator. For this one, I need to multiply an x plus 1 to both. So for this new fraction, my numerator is going to be 2x. My denominator is going to be x times x plus 1. There's my plus sign. For here, this needs to be distributed to everything in the parentheses. So my new numerator for this fraction is 3x plus 3. And my denominator is going to be x times x plus 1. Okay? Now I have a common denominator. Now I can combine my numerator. So combining my numerators, 2x plus 3x plus 3, all over the same denominator. Now I can look to see if I can combine like terms. I can combine my 2x plus my 3x, which is 5x, and then still my 3. I'm going to go ahead and multiply this out. X squared plus x, distributing that. So this is really what needs to be up here on the right hand side. It would need to be 5x plus 3 over x squared plus x. The way they break it up into two fractions here, if I wrote it like this, 5x over x squared plus 3 over x squared plus x. They might also have it listed this way in the back of the book, because now that I have a common denominator, I can combine my numerator and I will get the same thing as this. True? Yes, true. So, either way.